Well, now we come to another game changer in the DC animated lineup. Much like how Justice League New Frontier made the transition from, I believe, the Golden Age to the Silver Age, Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox is based on a comic book story arc that basically changed the entirety of the DC comic book universe. So, how does the film hold up? Well, it's very, very good. It's honestly one of their best. Or if not one of their best, definitely one of their better ones. Yeah, one of their best. Mainly because of just how dark that this movie is willing to go. Mainly because of how bleak and how different we the world is in this movie. The plot of this is it's just another routine day for Barry Allen, aka the Flash. I mean, he, along with the Justice League, stop Professor Zoom, another speedster, from bombing Central City. Okay, well, when Professor Zoom makes a comment about Flash, despite being how fast he is, not being able to save the people that matter, Flash goes back in time and something happens. So upon finishing the opening title sequence, Flash awakens in a world where Batman is Thomas Wayne instead of Bruce Wayne. Thomas Wayne is a gun-toting, booze-drinking 5 o'clock shadow Batman. Aquaman and Wonder Woman are in a worldwide war that threatens to destroy civilization as we know it. Cyborg and the United States are working on a plan to take down both sides. Superman is nowhere to be seen. And yeah, the remaining superheroes are part of the Resistance, of which two prominent figures are Deathstroke and Lex Luthor. And Flash is caught in the middle. So, naturally, considering that this very sadistic world fits the personality, fits something that Professor Zoom would do, Flash immediately suspects Professor Zoom of going back and changing the past because he is from the future. So, that's the basic gist. Now, again, this features, like a lot of these movies, this features a pretty good cast. Justin Chambers voices Barry Allen, aka the Flash. He does a really good job. I mean, I'm tired of saying that, honestly. Like, this person does a really good job, but he makes Barry Allen he makes him so personable and so sympathetic. I mean, this may be due to the fact that this is one of the first animated movies where Flash takes the forefront. Or at least, yeah, this is the first animated movie where Flash takes the forefront. It may have something to do with that, but Justin Chambers gives this guy so much emotional depth, and more so than we've seen before, at least from the Barry Allen Flash. I mean, you really feel the pain that this guy is going through upon not being able to save his mother, and how he's trying constantly to make up for that. But also, you never lose sight of the fact that he is the Flash. It never unjustifiably characterizes him as a Batman knockoff, like a lot of comic book adaptations are trying to do nowadays. No, he still can deliver the occasional quip. He's still a relatively lighthearted character in comparison to a lot of other figures in this alternate world. And he makes for a pretty likable lead. And wow, is it a nice change of pace to see one of these animated movies where the lead is not Batman or Superman. Again, I love Batman and Superman, but good God, give someone else a chance. So Justin Chambers does a very good job as the Flash. It also has Kevin McKidd as the Thomas Wayne version of Batman. And like with the last movie, or like with the last movie review, I am not going to make a Grey's Anatomy joke because again, I have not seen Grey's Anatomy, so I can't really do that justice. But Kevin McKidd is also extremely accomplished as Batman. This is a very different Batman to the one we've seen before. You can still tell it's the same type of character, but the very noticeable differences between Bruce Wayne's Batman and Thomas Wayne's Batman actually, in a lot of ways, make Thomas Wayne's Batman scarier in some respects. I mean, he has surgical experience. He really feels that he has nothing to lose. I mean, he's significantly older than Bruce Wayne. So of course he would feel that it's kind of too late for him to really do anything about it. He doesn't really want another family, because his wife went insane and his son is dead. So yeah, this is a harsh. Even Batman is harsher in this alternate world. So yeah, Thomas Wayne, really good job as Batman. You can feel the deep resonant pain that this guy goes through, and it resonates much more deeply than the Flash, appropriately enough. But at the same time, he can be really tough. He can be really intimidating. And the dynamic that he has with the Flash in this movie works for a lot of reasons. So yeah, I really like Kevin McKidd as Batman. C. Thomas Howell plays Professor Zoom. Now, while I do have a few issues with the character of Professor Zoom in this movie, C. Thomas Howell does a phenomenal job voicing the character. I mean, he really does capture the very slimy intelligence, the very sociopathic intelligence that this character has. You believe that this guy is just pure evil. I mean, C. Thomas Howell, he's not trying to be overly menacing. He's not trying to be over the top. I mean, you really get the sense that this is a crazy person who knows exactly which buttons to push to get under someone's skin. So yeah, it's not outright scary, but it is. But his very calm voice, the very calm performance that he puts on, really makes this character very unsettling in a lot of scenes that he's in. Michael B. Jordan plays Cyborg. He's okay, although not quite as good as Carrie Payton or Bumper Robinson. But for the most part, he's pretty good as Cyborg. He still maintains the traits that Cyborg needs to have, in that he needs to, in my opinion, he needs to be likable. He needs to have a strong personality, while at the same time not being necessarily a brute. So yeah, Michael B. Jordan, he's good as Cyborg. Nathan Fillion is pretty good as Hal Jordan, as always. I mean, at this point, he fits very nicely into the character to where it almost sounds like second nature to him. I mean, it sounds very natural to hear Nathan Fillion voice Hal Jordan, both as the Green Lantern and as just this regular fighter pilot in the alternate reality. So yeah, it's nice that he gets to voice another side of this character other than the standard, oh, I'm Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, yeah. Ron Perlman returns to the role of Deathstroke, reprising his role from Teen Titans, although it's a very different Deathstroke. It's more of this kind of hard-boiled general Deathstroke, and honestly, he was underused. He does a good job, but he is criminally underused. I wish he had been in more of the movie before getting axed off, but for the most part, he does a good job. Again, I just wish I wish it had been more in line with his Teen Titans Deathstroke, the very scary, almost monotone Deathstroke. But does a good job regardless, as does Dana Delaney as this Resistance fighter Lois Lane. It's nice to hear Dana Delaney back in the role of Lois Lane, because in my opinion she is still the best one. but yeah, again, like with a lot of other characters, it's nice to see that she can portray a different side to Lois Lane that inhabits this alternate reality. Vanessa Marshall also returns to the role of Wonder Woman, and while I didn't care much for her in, I believe, Crisis on Two Earths was where she played the character, she's much better here. I mean, she's much better at displaying the power and the kind of regal authority that Wonder Woman needs to have. I mean, this more brutal Wonder Woman that we see in this alternate timeline is something that you really need to have a pretty good voiceover actor to be able to portray and do any justice. And to my surprise, Vanessa Marshall does do a pretty good job. Would I have preferred if it was Susan Eisenberg or maybe even Kerry Russell? Probably, but Vanessa Marshall, she has improved significantly from her previous turn as the character. Sam Daly as Superman and Kevin Conroy as Batman, they're okay, but they're not really in the movie all that much. Kevin Conroy, I think, does a better job. He gets more lines, he gets more material to work with, particularly near the end, where he gives an almost heartbreaking performance as Batman toward the end when Flash comes back to our timeline. But I digress. And probably the casting choice that had me the most excited was Cary Elwes as Aquaman. Yes. Cary Elwes, from The Princess Bride, from Stephen Sommers' The Jungle Book, from numerous other projects. I've always liked Cary Elwes, and man, does he add such an intensity to the role of Aquaman. You really buy that. Yeah, of course there is some emotional motivation behind Aquaman's actions, but the way that Cary Elwes plays it, not only do you buy that this guy is a very powerful figure, both physically and in terms of his authoritative position, but also you buy the fact that he doesn't necessarily want to be in this war. I mean, at this point, just in Cary Elwes' very weathered voice, you can tell that he is tired of fighting. And to be able to get all that across without necessarily having any prior experience voicing the character is a real credit to Cary Elwes' talent. So yeah, I really loved Cary Elwes as Aquaman. And another thing that works about this movie is, again, the very dark atmosphere that it has. I mean, this is a very war-torn world, and to see these characters in these different lights is actually pretty refreshing. To see Aquaman and Wonder Woman out in this global conflict, to see the United States basically turn against any kind of superheroes who aren't on their side, to see Lex Luthor and Deathstroke and a plethora of other prominent DC characters being axed off, you really get the sense that not only have lines been drawn in the sand, but there are casualties aplenty. This is a very dark and brutal movie by DC animated standards. And I've mentioned how certain entries in this series have gotten more brutal than others. Like I said, the Wonder Woman movie had plenty of decapitations and murders and whatnot. But this movie, it's not really all that lighthearted. It is a very harsh environment that this movie portrays. And this movie portrays it very, very well, especially considering that it is an animation, and I think it's a real credit to animation as a filmmaking medium to be able to get all this across. I mean, I can't imagine a live action version of this being done anytime soon, and even if I could, I can't imagine it being done justice to this level. Animation can be taken seriously. Animation can be used to tell very dark stories. So, and if anything, this is basically concrete proof of that. I mean, yeah, it's animation, and animation is a lot of the time used to tell very kid friendly or family friendly stories, i.e., Disney, DreamWorks, and whatnot. But when I watch one of these DC animated movies, and this one in particular, I can really appreciate that these movies are made just as much. They're not really targeting any specific age group. They're targeting readers of the comic books. They are targeting the fans of these characters. They are showing these characters in new lights, and in my opinion, adults can get just as much, if not more, enjoyment out of these movies than kids. The gloves are off in this picture in terms of the brutality of it. So, and again, that's pretty fitting. And like I said, you like seeing these characters in a new light. You like seeing Aquaman and Wonder Woman go at it. You like learning about this alternate world, because it is a very interesting world. Now, what doesn't really work as well about this movie is it mainly has to do with the character of Professor Zoom. Now, I mentioned C. Thomas Howell doing a really good job as Professor Zoom, and he does, but I never really got a clear picture of why he hates the Flash so much, and why he is going to such great lengths to torment him. They do kind of offer some explanation toward the beginning when Batman says he's a sociopath. He knows exactly which buttons to push. And then later Thomas Wayne is like, you'll be surprised at the monsters this world can create. But I don't know, I guess I just wish we had gotten a clearer picture of the history between these two characters and why each of them is willing to go to such great lengths to triumph over the other. Aside from, oh, he's evil, oh, he's the arch nemesis. Again, it's not horrible the way they portray it, and what they do show functions well enough. But like I said, I just wish we had seen more in the way of the relationship between these two characters. But what we got is okay. It's okay. Not really much in the way of initial motivation. Like, why does Professor Zoom hate the Flash? But again, it doesn't really destroy the movie all that much. And the other issue I have with this is the twist at the end. The twist comes from the twist as to why the world is like this. And I may or may not have already spoiled it earlier on in the video. But it seems like Flash really should have considered this among his options in the first place. I mean, when we learn what he did, it seems like A, he should have been much less surprised to see his mother alive, and B, it should have crossed his mind at least once or twice that, maybe Professor Zoom did not necessarily have complete dominance over the responsibility of causing these horrible things to happen. Maybe he's not the only one to blame here. Granted, it is something that Professor Zoom would do, at least conceivably, but I don't know. The twist seems to rely on the fact that we weren't necessarily shown what the Flash did. If we were shown what the Flash did, then I think we would have predicted. I think I could have predicted this twist much earlier than the movie wanted me to. And again, even though we aren't shown it, it's supposedly common knowledge that the Flash did something to change history. And really, the twist is supposed to come from, oh, I didn't mean to change history this much, or how was I supposed to know that this would happen when I did this really relatively minor thing? So yeah, it's. I think it could have been executed better, is what I'm saying. I think it could have been portrayed better. I think it could have had a better lead up. And I think the characters could have addressed it better because, like I said, Flash seems way too surprised to see his mom. So yeah, that whole plot could have been portrayed better. But aside from those minor gripes, great action, great brutal action, obviously. Great voice acting, great new scenario. Like I said, you really like this world. This very harsh, war-torn environment. You like seeing these characters adapt to said environment, like Lois Lane as the Resistance fighter, and whatnot, and Deathstroke working with Lex Luthor. I mean, you like seeing these characters in this new light, and to me, that's what really makes this movie worth it, is to see how different and how much more. I'm trying to think of the word, and how much more unforgiving this world is in comparison to the universe that we normally associate with these characters. So, yeah, I liked it. It's definitely one of the better ones. Are there problems with the narrative and some of the characterization? Yes, but in the grand scheme of things, considering how solid the rest of the movie is, it doesn't really dampen the experience too much. It's kind of like Superman Unbound. The problems are there, and they are kind of noticeable, but they won't stand out in the finished product. They won't be biting away at you. And when you look back at this movie, or at least in my opinion, when I look back at this movie, my memories are mostly positive. I really remember enjoying this movie. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. And oh boy, now comes the era of the New 52.